Hey everybody, this is Rosie, and today I'd like to take a look at using the Sailrite Fabricator industrial sewing machine for bag makers. So, let's get started. I recently purchased the Sailrite Fabricator sewing machine. This is an industrial walking foot machine. Sailrite has been making machines for many years that have been used in the boating industry, but I was interested in this machine for bag making. One of the things that really interested me in this particular machine is that Sailrite says that you can use general purpose thread through V138. Now my favorite thread to use is the Guttermann Mara 70. This is not an industrial weight thread, but I wanted a machine that could handle this thread. So with just a little bit of tweaking with both my bobbin tension and my top thread tensions, I have been able to run this thread beautifully through this machine. Now, Sailrite did send me a sample that was done on this machine. This is leather. You can see it's very thick. They're probably using a V138 thread on this machine. And you can see how beautiful the stitching is. So this machine can go from sewing this type of material to making a bag with the thread that you desire and still give you a beautiful stitch. This is the first bag that I've made on this machine. It's the Sunshine Crossbody Pouch by Bagstock Designs. And I used cork on the exterior, which has not been interfaced with anything. And I also used 100% cotton quilting fabric that's been interfaced with Woven Fuse 2. For the linings, I also used 100% cotton quilting fabric. And the linings have also been interfaced with Woven Fuse 2. And in between the exterior and interior panels, I have a layer of Bosal flexible foam. I was able to sew through the different materials and the different thicknesses with my Guttermann thread, and I did not have to change any tension settings at all. And the machine produced a beautiful stitch throughout. So today I'm going to make another Sunshine Crossbody Pouch using different materials. This video is not really focusing on being a step-by-step tutorial on how to make this pouch. It's really going to focus on the machine itself and how it handles the materials that I like to use for bag making. To do some more testing on the machine, I am going to be sewing another Sunshine Crossbody Pouch by Bagstock Designs, and I will be using different materials. So I'm going to still be using the cork, and it's not been interfaced with anything. I have some batik fabrics here for the exterior. Each piece of batik has been fused, interfaced with Woven Fuse 2 plus a layer of Decoville Light. And then for the lining pieces, I already have them constructed, and it's 100% cotton quilting fabric fused with the Woven Fuse 2. Now this panel here for my lining, it has card slots and a narrow zippered pocket that you can put cash or maybe a checkbook in here. And I do have a separate video on how to create card slots for this bag. And then my other lining piece just has a zippered pocket that's featured in the pattern itself. I'm going to start by sewing the back of the bag. And as I sew through the pouch, I will be talking a little bit about the machine. Right now, the machine has been turned on, and it does have a servo motor. It's very quiet. You cannot hear the motor itself when the machine is turned on. Right here on the throat plate, there are some engravings that you can follow along for your seam lines. So the engravings are at 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch, and 1 inch. Right now, the foot that I have on the machine is the one that comes with the machine. Sailrite does make some other feet, and I will be demonstrating one of those a little bit later on, and they are very easy to change out. So I'm going to get started right here with this seam. The machine does have a knee lifter, and it's just a straight stitch machine, so you can either go forward or backwards. So I'm going to back stitch at the beginning here. The machine does not have a needle positioner, but it's not really needed because with just a slight tap on the foot controller, I can make the needle go down and I can make it go up. So the control is really phenomenal. Now I'm just going to sew across this seam right here. And one thing I'm going to be watching for as I sew through these different materials is my thread. I want to make sure that I don't have any breakage or shredding of that thread, and so far, so good. Now I'm just going to fold back the cork because I want to do some top stitching. And I will be using the presser foot as an edge guide. And I'll use a stitch length of 4. I went ahead and sewed in the other side and did all my top stitching, and going through the cork and the batik and the decovilite and all that, I have had no issues at all with my thread shredding or thread breakage. I'm going to sew in the zipper for the exterior pocket on the front of the bag, but before I do, I want to switch over to a narrow foot to make sewing in that zipper a little easier. So I've already removed the foot that comes with the machine, and that's this one here. And the way these feet work is that you have an outer foot and an inner foot. And the inner foot just nests right inside of that outer foot, just like that. Also, I want to point out, on this foot here, there are ridges on the bottom. And these ridges could potentially mar your fabric, although I didn't have any trouble with it on the cork. It worked out just fine. I didn't get any marks. But if you do, Sailrite does make some feet with a smooth bottom without the ridges. The narrow foot here is one of them. So you can see the bottom there is smooth. They also make a leather foot with a smooth bottom, so that's an option if you're worried about the ridges. Now these feet are very easy to install, and I'm going to link to a video from Sailrite that shows you how to do that. They do a really excellent job demonstrating how to change out the feet, and they are not hard to change. The other thing that I want to point out about the foot that comes with the machine is that it has a narrow toe on one side and a wide toe on the other side. So if you're using this foot as an edge guide to do some top stitching, you need to be consistent with which side you sew from. Now I already have the narrow foot on the machine, and with this particular foot, the distance between the needle and the outer toes are the same on both sides. I'm using a number 5 zipper, and I'm going to use the etchings on my throat plate to maintain a 1/4 inch seam while I sew this in. Here is the zipper sewn in with the narrow foot. Now I'm going to sew in the pocket lining. To sew in that pocket lining, I'm just going to go over the previous line of stitching here. Now keep in mind, the purpose of the video is not to show you how to make the bag, it's to show you how the machine performs. And as you know, one of my main concerns is, how is my thread holding up? And I have not had any thread breakage, and I have not had any shredding. Now I'll do some top stitching with the narrow foot there, and I am going to use the very edge of the foot as my guide. So I'm still getting some beautiful stitching there, and I'm not having to change any tensions as I go through the different layers. Now I'll just go ahead and finish this front pocket panel. I finished sewing the front panel with the zippered pocket, and now I have the cork clipped to one side, and I'm going to sew that in. And by the way, the first bag that I made entirely with the narrow foot on the machine, so you don't have to go switching it in and out just to do your zippers if you don't want to. You can actually sew the entire bag with it. I'll just go ahead and finish the front panel and then we'll sew the zipper into the bag. I have one side of the zipper sewn into the front panel, and now I'm going to take the lining piece that has the card slots on it, and I'm going to put it right sides together with the main panel, and then we're going to sew these two pieces together. As I sew the exterior and the lining together, we're sewing through more material now, thicker seams, different interfacings, and again, we know that the machine can handle the thickness. The question is, can my thread continue to hold up? I need to move my zipper pull. And still no issues with the thread. I'm really quite amazed that this machine is able to run this thread with virtually no problems. And now I will do some top stitching. And still everything is holding up just fine. Now I am about to sew a seam that has a little bit of bulk in it. So basically I'm sewing the exterior and the lining together with the zipper in between, but it also has the D-ring right here. This is the D-ring connector, and it's been interfaced with Decovil Light. So when I start the seam over here, it's very thin, and then it has to go up over that D-ring connector. So I want to see how well the walking foot does going over that little hump there. I did have to give it a little bit of a push, but remember, I have the foot on that has a smooth bottom. If we use the foot that comes with the machine with the grid on the bottom, I don't think that we would have a problem with that at all. Now I'm coming to the other side where the D connector is again on the other side. We'll see how it does on this side. Okay, we had a tiny bit of trouble there, but again, using the other foot, I think that would not be a problem at all. Now I'll be sewing all around the bag to bring everything together. I will be going from the lining side over to the exterior side. We'll be going over different thicknesses and different seams, and I want to see how the walking foot does with everything. So all in all, the walking foot did a pretty good job. It did struggle in a couple of areas where it really transitioned from being very thick to very thin. But remember, I do have the walking foot with the smooth bottom on it. If we had the other foot on with the ridges on the bottom, it probably would have handled it a little bit better. And here's the finished bag. It's not actually the one you saw me sew in the video. I actually sewed two of them at the same time. This is the one I finished first. But I have to say, overall, the machine does a very nice job. What I'm really pleased with is the fact that I was able to use the Guttermann Mara 70 thread throughout this project. I did not change any tensions anywhere along the way, and it sewed beautifully with no thread breakage at all and no thread shredding at all. And I think that it's pretty amazing that you can sew with a non-industrial thread in an industrial sewing machine with no thread issues. So Sailrite's claim that you can sew with general purpose thread up to V138 is true. I've had this machine for just about 2 weeks and I've sewn 3 bags on it. So far I'm very happy with its performance. I'm still getting used to using it, and in a few more weeks I will do a formal review of the entire machine. Well, I hope that this was helpful to you, and I'd like to give a shout out to all of my subscribers and people who have liked my videos. And if you're not currently a subscriber, I would love to have you, so please like and subscribe.